Do you guys notice that the weather's kind of warm today? I mean, it's a little bit weird, like considering that it's late November and all, but I'm not gonna complain because it does feel pretty nice outside. Yeah, it's definitely a little bit unusual how warm it is outside, but maybe after we're done eating, we could take a walk and burn off some of those calories. But overall, I'm just really glad that everybody was able to come here today, and hopefully, we'll have a great Thanksgiving. Yeah, but don't you think that that's a little bit weird? I mean, normally, like last year and the years before, it's closer to the 50s, but now it's like 65, 68 or something. Like, it feels nice and all, but I don't know, it seems like climate change or something, global warming. Yeah, but I mean, if this is what climate change or global warming or whatever really is, like, I don't really care. I mean, it feels nicer today than it did last year or the year before. And, I don't need to wear a winter jacket or a hoodie. I'm just wearing my quarter zip. So, if this is really what it is, then so what? You really should care about it to a certain level just because, I mean, yes, I understand that it's nice out today. We could take a walk after we eat and stuff like that. But at the same time, just because it's warmer today doesn't mean that it's good. Like, if the overall temperature is increasing and going up and up in the future years, then that could have a lot of other effects that could affect everybody in the world. So, and even like future generations to come. So it is important to care about it and not just sweep it under the rug. I don't really see how it like can affect me that much. I mean, if it goes up a little bit every 5 years, and so what? I don't even like the cold, so if it gets a little bit warmer every once in a while, then I couldn't care less. Where you guys are coming from, and I definitely can respect your opinions and beliefs, because in a way, I can relate to it myself. But it really is like a big problem, not just for us as individuals, but for everybody as a whole in the whole world and for all future generations to come. So it's really important that we do care about it, and it's really important that we also are educated on it and understand what's actually happening. What do you mean, understand what's happening? Isn't it just the temperature gets a little bit hotter and that's about it? Yeah, so the temperature does get a little bit hotter and it does go up a little bit, but the issue lies on the averages. Like, if you look at this graph that I just pulled up, you can see that there's actually a positive slope, like going with time and temperature. So if you look at the line of best fit on that graph, it says that roughly every century in America, the temperature has increased about 2 degrees Fahrenheit. So it might not sound like a big deal to us because 2 degrees is not very noticeable, but certain systems and environments are very sensitive to even the slightest change in climate. So it could cause a lot of other different consequences that ultimately will affect us. Yeah, but I mean, who cares if it goes up 2 degrees in the next 100 years? That just means it'll be a little bit warmer when I go to the beach, or a little bit warmer when I go to Yosemite or something. Okay, so that actually might not be the case for the future. Maybe the next few years, yeah. But places like Yosemite or Yellowstone or the beach, for that matter, are actually really sensitive to any increase in temperature. What do you mean that might not be the case for the future? Like, are my kids or any of our kids or even future grandkids not going to be able to, see Yosemite or enjoy the beaches like the same as us? It's hard to say for certain, but just from like a lot of studies that I've had to read in class and just by being interested in the topic, um, yeah, like your kids or everybody's grandkids might not be able to experience it in the same way, just because a lot of these ecosystems are actually extremely sensitive to increases in temperature. So that 2 degrees or something could actually completely change up the vegetation or the animals there or just the general biodiversity. So they might be able to go, but it wouldn't be the same glory that you experienced or everybody else around the table loves. Wait, so things can really like they can actually change that easily? Yeah, so these ecosystems can actually change pretty easily, but like that's kind of what I'm getting at. Just trying like tying it to you guys and how it does affect you guys. Just because how we were saying, why should we care? Like it is everybody's issue at the end of the day, since everything is sensitive to that temperature change and it does affect the whole world. So just caring, we need to care about it for everybody, not just ourselves. And what I mean by that is like, so there's like a circle of human concern, right? Which basically shows like what we care about. So a good example of that would be, everybody at the table. Like we care about everybody at the table. We love everyone at the table. Um, So when we think of climate change, we need to do that, but with everybody, because everybody is affected by it. Everybody who loves national parks like us, everyone who loves the beach or even lives by the beach can be affected by it. I definitely care more about it now, but like, why should we worry as it's everybody's problem? Wouldn't it just be, people who want to go to national parks or people who like nature? I mean, that was really just one example, if I'm being honest. Like another really big one, what I was saying with the beaches and people who live by coastlines, and also something that affects our family as a whole, just because, we live South Florida right by the beach. Like Alex just moved up to DC, which is also by the water or the river. And then we also have some family, in New York. Like another issue with that and living close to the coastlines is as the temperature goes up, the world gets hotter basically and the climate's hotter. So the ice caps, like places close to the poles, like Greenland or Antarctica or some of the like Norwegian areas, those ice caps actually will melt. Like the hotter it is, the more it will melt. And when it turns into water, it's going to raise the sea level. And as the sea level raises, the coastlines are going to go inward. So where a lot of us live now, like right by the water, we're eventually going to have to move. And yes, this is something of the future that could affect our kids or our grandkids, but it also could affect, us, because this is some stuff that's like, I've read a book on it before, and there's plenty of studies, but like if you guys look into it a little bit more, you'll see like this is stuff that's projected to change in the next 20 to 50 years, depending on how we handle this as a whole. So yeah, it definitely affects more people than just us, and so it is a big deal and something we should really care about. I never realized that there were so many consequences, like, and it affected so many people. I feel kind of naive, but like I still don't really know much about it. Like what could we do to help stop it, or what even causes it in the first place? I'm not actually going to go into this like crazy in depth right now, just because it is Thanksgiving, and at the end of the day, I'm not an expert on the topic. But most scientists and climatologists agree that it's just the increase in greenhouse gases and carbon emissions that are caused by us. So things that cause carbon emissions and greenhouse gases to increase in the atmosphere are kind of just how we live, how we make things. So industrial factories, manufacturing plants, even cars, like CO2 coming out of the exhaust, and even little things like cattle farming, just because the methane gas emissions from the cows themselves. These are all things that really, affect climate change and cause climate change. So it's really just how we live and how we've developed as humans. Yeah, but I mean, is there anything we could do as individuals in order to like act against it or maybe fight climate change? So it's definitely more of an issue with certain economic and political institutions at play. But as individuals, there's still things that we could do. We could always switch to cleaner energy sources such as solar power or electric cars. And we could also even just cut out some red meat in our diet and eat more locally produced food. But the most important thing just to do as individuals is basically just spread awareness about everything and also open up our own circle of human concern and just care about it, because it is a world problem, like even though we might not see the effects right now, it's something that's going to really have some harsh consequences in the future. I'll just leave it at that though, because I think the food's ready, but I'd be glad to talk to somebody after if they would like. I never realized how much, it would affect me or anybody's kids or even our grandkids. But yeah, I'd love to talk to you after we eat just to learn a little bit more about it and how I can help.